I'm good. Okay. Sorry about all of that. So anyways, as we've asked all of our conference attendees, please give us some grace with this virtual streaming app that we're all getting used to. So again, I apologize. Welcome this morning. Unfortunately, Derrick and Paige are also having some challenges with their video, but they are here and they are ready to share with you this morning. So if you have any questions, please direct them to the chat box. Please feel free to introduce yourself into the chat box. And I am going to hand it over to Derrick and Paige.
Good morning. So hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I apologize for the delay as well as the technical difficulties. I feel like that's just the way it goes sometimes. So thank you so much for having grace and just holding out to hang out with us today. So Derrick is still trying to kind of figure out getting our video together. We have 3 computers up and cell phones. So fingers crossed we can get our video turned on and actually kind of have some face-to-face interaction, but hopefully it doesn't deter the session this morning. So our title today is basically, making the transition from the military into farming full-time. So I think that the best way to start all of this is to answer the question why. Like, why would we do something that seems super radical, like leaving a pension and a life that was, after Derrick was in the military for 14 years. So we definitely kind of, even though there were a lot of things that were unexpected, there was still somewhat of, I would say, a normalcy that we developed, within the military culture. So with that being said, we had gotten accustomed to moving every 1 to 2 years and, deployments that last, a month to 6 months. Like, it was an ongoing thing and something that we eventually just got accustomed to. And I say that in, I guess, reflecting on what the military was for us, and it was great for our family, but also it wasn't so great at the same time. And I know that probably sounds like an oxymoron because it is. And I know Derrick can probably speak more into this, so you guys are kind of getting my side of things since he's still trying to troubleshoot the video. But when Derrick joined the military, it was before we got married. And so, I would say that I married into the military. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, this is our life and this is what we're doing. And, as a military spouse, you develop a really thick skin, whether that's, having to pack up your house and label everything for a PCS move and wrangle kids at the same time and record, the first day of school or first steps, like all of those things. And then you kind of just get used to like, okay, like being double-sided and, we're married, but at the same time, my husband is just gone all the time because this is a part of our life and this is our livelihood. So, needless to say, I was definitely tired of it after doing it for so many years, and really just because of the fact that I felt like we had a hard time establishing roots. And I know that that's a big thing within the military community. Like, if you talk to someone who's getting ready to retire, they're like, I just can't wait to plant roots, because for so long you get accustomed to being uprooted constantly. So long story short, I found one of my planners, and this is an off topic thing, but I found one of my old planners, and I opened it up and looked at our schedule, which was jam packed at this point. We had 4 kids, and balancing again TDYs and deployments and everything in between, from soccer and dance and ballet and school pickup. And I looked at that planner and I was like, our life was so crazy. We had so many things going on all the time. I don't even know how we managed that. But yeah, so in the middle of all the crazy things, and Derrick's military background, he was civil affairs, which is a part of special operations. And he all of a sudden just started experiencing some health issues. And it didn't make sense. And we both were kind of like, well, we'll just try to figure this out. But ultimately, we knew that there was something off about it. So I got pregnant with our fifth kid and started, researching and doing all of my regular mom duties of learning all the things. And I just had this, kind of epiphany. And I was like, hey, I really think that our food has a lot to do with health issues, like period. And I think that what you're experiencing with your, it was more on the lines of digestion. I was like, I think that is linked to what we're eating. And so, Derrick went into the rabbit hole with me, and we both started kind of binge watching, all the things that Netflix and Hulu had to offer about food. And we then realized, hey, okay, there is something to this. So right then we made the commitment that like, hey, we're going to start being better consumers. Like if we're going to eat something, we want to be able to trace the soil. So we sought out local farmers and did our best to, try to support the one farmer's market that was in our area. Then one day, a farmer who we were getting chicken from, because our family, we like chicken, he ran out of chicken, and Derrick was like outraged. Like I remember him being like, I think at that time he was trying to make it back from like one of the like soccer games, and like we were late like to make it to the farmer's market. So he was like, we were already just like frazzled, and then we get there and he's like, yeah, I'm out of chicken for the season. And we're like, what? This is crazy. So we go home and I don't think anything of it. I'm just like, well, okay, I guess we're just not going to be eating chicken for a little bit. And I think I had like two more like whole birds, because I try to buy like a good amount every time we would go to the market. And he was like, well, I think that, and then so he's like, I think I'm just going to do it myself. Like, I think that what's going to happen is I'm just going to grow my chicken. And I really did not think he was serious. I thought he was just like, saying crazy things, which sometimes he does. And it rolled off of my back. And then he sends me this text message with a receipt saying that he ordered 25 chickens. And I was so confused by this. I was so confused because I was like, wait, so you ordered 25 chickens and they're coming here? Like, it was just like, it was this very, like I didn't know that you could even order chickens in the mail. I did not know that was a thing. And it's definitely a thing. And then he was like, oh yeah, it's probably going to take like a long time. Like, and I don't even think they're going to come that soon. And Derrick always has more to add to the story because there are parts that I don't even know about. But one day not even like, it was like maybe a couple of days later, the chickens are at our house and we're in the middle of raising chickens. And it's like, okay, this is really, okay, we're doing this. Like we are raising chickens in our yard. It's completely illegal. Like you could have, I think like so we had meat birds. It wasn't even, okay, wait, can you guys see me? Oh no, wait. I'm going to edit the name on this. Nope, this is
We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, but there's some background with the double ones open.
I think it's.
We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is that better? Worse?
Turn off the computer sound to your the sound on your computer, because we're getting some echoing.
Okay. All right. Nope. Okay, I'm just gonna turn it off. That was a bad idea. I'm gonna leave.
We enjoyed getting to see you briefly.
All right, sorry guys. I was really trying to fix that visual for you, but I'm not very good at that. Okay, we're gonna keep going. So back to what I was saying about so we're raising chickens inside of our neighborhood. We did this for the duration of the time that it takes to raise a Cornish cross. Derrick built a chicken tractor, and by finding videos on YouTube, we even processed the chickens ourselves, and that was an adventure. I really thought that we could just take the birds to go to a place and get them processed. But it turns out that if you have 25 chickens, that's not an adequate number for anyone to process. And I didn't know that. So it was like, oh, okay. All right. So we're doing this too. We raised them and now we're going to process them. And in the course of this time, which I feel like people don't know this part, but we had a baby. So when Derrick ordered those chickens, this was right at the end of my pregnancy. So I think if you look on some of the photos that we have on social media, I know for sure there's a photo of me on Instagram where I'm making magic water for the chickens and my belly is huge. And I think I even dropped at that point because that was right before I was getting ready to have a baby. And long story short, we got the chickens, and by the time the birds were ready to be processed, I think our youngest, she was, maybe a week, 2 weeks old. So that was just an adventure, to say the least. And we have been going full-time since, but I feel like I now need to kind of give you guys the picture of what that looks like to make the transition from going full-time. So after we processed the chickens, we had a good amount of birds, and we were like, hey, we should probably share this with friends and family, people that are nearby. Our friends knew what we were doing, and that was more so just because we had people that went to the same school as our kids, and my kids would go home and tell all types of stories. And to one point I was called in to by the principal because they were like, your son just keeps coming in here and telling us all these really wild stories about animals and chickens. And is it true? And I was like, yeah, it is. So anyway, I ended up going in and teaching the kids about building a chicken tractor and how we were raising our own birds. And this is all in our neighborhood. So some of those parents from the school were really fascinated with what we were doing. And they're like, hey, we would really like to know, kind of more about what you're doing. And are you going to sell the chickens? What's happening here? We're like, no, but I would really love to give you a chicken, because we at that point, it was we raised them for ourselves, and we wanted to, we were proud of what we did, and we could taste the difference. And I remember being like, oh, I just want to share this with everyone. So we did share it with a couple of close friends and family, and the feedback was amazing. I mean, everyone was like, this is probably one of the best chickens that I've had. This is so great. We can't believe that you raised this in your yard. And at that point, where we were inside of our our life, Derrick was really set on making a career transition because, after being in the military for so long, it was just it was weighing on us. And it was very much something that we had talked about. And unbeknownst to us, farming seemed to be the perfect recipe for being able to go into a job as an entrepreneur and to have a business that I'm not going to say that it wasn't hard, but when he did the numbers for specifically pastured poultry, I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. We have to raise this many birds, and we have to, okay, I think we can do this. And it was very much like, I was like, oh, well, okay, if this is the way that we're going to go in terms of a job, then I will support it, because you're not going to be traveling all over the country. You're going to be home. You're not going to miss things. Yeah. Like let's do it. So it does sound crazy, but that's really how it went. And from that point, we did the chickens, and then Derrick had a friend who just so happened to be getting pigs. And he told him, he was like, hey, do you want to go in on the pigs? Oh, wait, hold on. Derrick is getting ready to jump in now.
Yeah, so sorry about that. And this is still, I'm adjusting to this, not being able to see you guys. So yeah, a friend of mine was who was also in the military, said that he was going to get some pigs. And this is the same guy who was doing chickens. He was doing a small flock of chickens in his yard, but he lived in the country. So he said, hey, I'm going to get some hogs, and you should get some too. And I was like, well, I don't have any land. And he was like, well, you can figure that out, at some point. You can figure that out once you get it. Once you get the pigs. And I was like, man, I don't have a livestock trailer. I don't even think I had a truck at the time, a pickup truck or anything. So I was like, this just isn't a good idea. But of course, my friend said he's doing it. So if he's going to do it, I'm going to do it. So we did it. And I think originally he was supposed to do 10 and I was going to do 5, and I ended up doing 10 and he ended up doing 5. So that's just kind of the way things go sometimes with farmer friends, which I've learned throughout the time that we've been farming. Your friends, they can get you into some stuff. So as Paige was saying, that kind of started the journey with, I guess, our farming journey, because at that point we needed land and we didn't have land. So now that we had, these hogs, we didn't even have them yet. He got the hogs for me, used his livestock trailer, and then just kept them at his house for a few days until, we were able to figure out something. And during that time, it motivated me. Okay, well, we really got to get some land now. So I started. Did you talk about NC Farm Link? Nope. Or how we found the land? All right. So fast forward ahead, we're getting hogs. I'm still in the military. We still have chickens on the ground. Paige told you that we process the chickens at the house. And we knew that we were going to continue to do it. So we started looking for land. I just Googled. At first I started looking for land and I wasn't really sure how do you look for land? And there really isn't a whole lot of places to find farmland that people want to farm. A lot of people are trying to sell farms, but they weren't really trying to rent out or lease or do anything with just farmland that I knew of. So I just Googled it. And sure enough, when I Googled it, I found a NC Farm Link, which is an amazing website that helps link farmers to farmland and farmers to or farmland owners to like people looking to get into farming.
Right.
So during that time, I go on there and I look, and this is I found the site, and within an hour, I had found a couple of different pieces of land, and all of them were row crop farms and stuff like that. A lot of people doing veggies or produce and stuff like that. So not really what we were looking for. But throughout that, as I was looking, I found this guy who had some land available outside of Durham, which was 2 hours away from where we currently lived. But it was it was land. So I sent the gentleman an email, and I think within like 2 or 3 days, like we had set up a meet and greet, and I was out looking at the farm. Paige and I was like, we're after church on Sunday, we're going to the land. Like, we're going to look at this land. And sure enough, we go out and we look at the land, and it was everything. I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect for what we were looking for at the time. We didn't know exactly what we were looking for, but it worked. And so we go out and we look at the land, and we're just walking, and I'm looking for things that I'm looking for stuff that I was told, you should look for when you're leasing land. Again, I've never farmed before, so I wasn't really sure what exactly I was looking for. But, we go out and we look at it, and I mean, it was more about the conversation with the landowner and just hearing about what the current farmers were already doing. And then, looking around, I knew that it needed work. Like, this was an old tobacco farm that had been in tobacco for years. Years before we had farmed it, and it had sat idle for at least maybe 10 years after tobacco. And there was a small farm working on getting it. Like, they were using it to do a few things like chickens. So yeah, we found the land, and then, this is how everything happened throughout the journey. We were running. Everything was like, it happened extremely fast. So we got the land. We signed a lease within a few weeks. We had our lawyers, finalize everything. And it worked. We didn't have any issues with, agreeing on the terms of the farm, just because the owner was just like, man, I just really want people to farm. So we got on the land, and then we started moving animals in right away. We got the pigs on the farm. We purchased 75 laying hens. And this is all in the month of December, which was crazy. They were already laying. But with the land, it brought a new challenge, which was with laying hens, you got to be there every day to collect the eggs. And we live 2 hours away. So every day I was commuting I did it for the first 6 months. I commuted 2 hours one way. So I would get up in the morning, take the kids to school, drop them off, and then I would go straight to the farm. And then, my 2 hour commute, and then I would commute. For the most of the time, we were doing the remote things at work, so I wasn't going into the office. And then some days I had to, so I would go to work, and then after I'm done at work, I'd get in the car and drive to the farm. And so that worked out for the first few months. And then as COVID came, we realized that it wasn't sustainable, and we needed to be on the farm before things shut down. And so we started looking for more land, because we needed. I think we are okay. There we go.
Close that.
Okay, I'm gonna close this one.
Sorry about that.
Hey. All right, we are here. Okay, I hope so too. I hope we didn't leave. Are we still here? Okay, we're still here.
Okay. Okay, great.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, they said they couldn't see us.
Yeah, but make sure they can hear us.
Can you guys hear us?
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right.
We'll keep talking.
Okay, this is a lot easier.
Okay.
All right, so so where are we at? We're in January, and we were in January, and hey, we are real people. And this is our farmhouse. So at this point it's January. We have hogs on the farm. We have laying hens, and we're trying to prepare for the upcoming season. We knew that, hey, we wanted to farm full time. So this wasn't like hobby farming for us, because I was planning on leaving my career to do this full time. So So we needed to make money. So in order for me to replace my salary, then we had to start making money. So we figured out the best way to jumpstart that would be to acquire another farm. Or an existing operation, and that's what we did. There was a local farm that was looking to transition into some other things, and it just so happens we had the same practices, some of the same exact stuff. So at that time, we acquired Little River Eco Farm, which is in Irwin, North Carolina. We took over their operation, and we just brought it underneath the Grazed umbrella, and so I think we finalized everything in March, and in March we finalized everything like the week before the spring market. So we went from not having anything to we're now working at 3 farmers markets and servicing 1,200 customers. That first month, as you know, this is March, April. At this point, COVID is doing this thing.
Rampant.
And we sold through all of our inventory in 3 weeks. We saw that this was a potential problem because we still had animals that were in the chute for processing and things like that. But it's still our hogs were nowhere near ready. But we had purchased inventory that we thought would sustain us until our inventory was ready. So, and that didn't happen. We sold through all of it within 3 weeks. And throughout that time, it was like, okay, well, we gotta jumpstart things. So we had a lot of plans. The plans were to build a bunch of chicken tractors, and that all those things. I'm gonna build 10 chicken tractors in this time, and everything. We had a plan for it, but when the demand came, it was like, well, you don't have time for that. Like, how fast can we jumpstart this in order to meet the demand? So we found a house, or we found another farm that was 10 minutes away from our current the actual larger farm, because we needed a place to live. And in order for us to spend all of our time and energy on the farm and be as efficient as possible, we needed to be closer. So we found a homestead. This is our homestead. We got a homestead, 7-acre homestead, where we raise laying hens. We do our pasture poultry, our beef, and our dairy here as well. It's kind of
we rotate.
It's all on rotation. So every animal but the pasture poultry rotates to the other farm. We don't do pasture poultry at the other farm because it's majority woodland and silvopasture. So it's not really ideal. I can't move my chicken tractors over there. If I could, I would definitely take them over there, but we don't have enough clear pasture. So we rotate the animals out. Like right now, we have all of our weaning pigs here on farm, and our nursing mothers, which are all of our dairy cows that are currently either projected to calve or they have already calved and were within those first few weeks. So, so yeah, both farms support each other. And so where are we now? So keep continuing moving forward. I invested in, more chicken tractors. The first year we did over 4,000 birds on pasture. We didn't process them all ourselves. We worked with another local processor. We brought in 2 people that the first year we brought in some summer help and then a full-time farm hand to help with just managing the farm operations as well as the market operations, because we're still doing farmers markets at the height of everything. So from March it started with 3, and then at the end of the season, so around August of September of last year, we were doing 7 farmers markets a week. So that was 3 on the weekend and then 2 throughout, or 5. So 3 on the weekend and then 2 throughout the week. So we were doing some like pop-up markets throughout Raleigh and Durham. Yeah. So, and all of this is just to keep up with the demand and to replace my salary and to replace the other salaries at this point, because now we have payroll. So throughout that time, like the demand has been there. So we have just, we've just tried to keep up with it. But of course, like any spike, there's gonna come a drop, and we saw the potential for, okay, what happens when the demand of COVID stops? But we had a plan for it because we knew that we were planning on working throughout the winter. Unlike a lot of farms don't really do a whole lot throughout the winter. We're 365. Like we have people, we have full-time employees, so everybody wants to work year round, and we want to as well. So we don't take off. So we picked up some more markets, and then we started pushing our e-commerce to continue to be productive throughout the winter. So we have talked about the transition. Paige gave you the insight on where we started, my career in the military to where we are now. Transitioning, it has been, and I'll leave it more so for questions. That is, we've used a number of different things to adjust and adapt to the changing market. It's been what has helped us survive. If we have stayed with the farmers markets in the beginning, which is not our project, we did not want to be primarily farmers markets, because remember, we were that couple that were like, hey, well, we want to spend as much time doing the stuff that we want to do, and then we want to go and get our food when it's most convenient for us. So the whole farmers market Saturday thing didn't work for us, and we wanted to provide something for that type of family. So which is why we have been pushing our e-commerce and focusing more on local deliveries and deliveries within the East Coast, which has helped us sustain throughout the winter. And then we've just been like creative with like collaborating with other farms, working with Farmer Food Share, doing some work with Duke, with a few of their like summer programs or like box programs and stuff like that. Like just trying to get out there and be creative with moving our product. So where we are now, 2021, we're now doing pasture poultry. What is it? Okay, we're now doing pasture poultry, grass-fed dairy, grass-fed and finished beef, soy-free pork, soy-free eggs or laying hens, and what else? Is that it? And
100% grass-fed beef.
Yeah. So yeah, that's currently what we're doing now. We are not persistent. We're not selling at any farmers markets currently. Majority of our sales are going through our buying club, CSA, and our e-commerce site, Grazed.com, which is where we have dedicated majority of our attention and majority of our production. So at this point, we can try to address some questions, or
I'm going to jump in. Unfortunately, the participants, you can't see them, but they can certainly ask you questions in the chat box, which you can see. Yep. So please, folks, feel free to ask any questions. And this is probably a big no-no and might get me into trouble being the moderator asking the first question, but I've got to clarify something.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much. Fabulous, inspiring kind of story and journey to farming. And I'm trying to piece together the timeline in my mind, and I may have gotten this wrong, but you had 25 chickens show up, towards the end of your pregnancy, Paige, and you all are talking about COVID, and I'm pretty sure I may have heard a baby crying in the background. So my question is, you have done all of this in a year?
It's 2 years, 3 days ago.
She will be 2 next week.
That's very impressive. And I admit I was looking on your website before getting ready for this workshop, and I encourage other folks to do. I mean, beautiful farm, beautiful family, great story, and I'll stop talking now and let other folks, if you have questions, participants, please feel free to put them in the chat.
Yeah. And while we're ready for questions, the thing that kind of inspired me, one of the there's a few things that kind of contributed to us actually doing this. It wasn't just me watching videos and just saying. I actually attended the this conference 2 years ago. And after going to the conference, like at this point, actually, we actually finalized the lease at the conference. Like the landowner was like, "Hey, you should come to this conference. Like you should come as my guest." And so I'm like, "Well, okay." So yep, we come down to the conference, and it was great. Yeah.
He said the food was so good.
It was so good.
He just kept talking about the
Yeah.
food. He's like, it's like the best.
They won me with the food. I was like, what? This? Yeah. So that was, and I got to meet a lot of other farmers. There were some that had been in the industry for, 40, 50 years. And then some that had, that hadn't started anything yet. And they were just, on the fence, kind of like I was. So after seeing it, I was just like, wait a minute. Like, and these people aren't asking me, wait a minute. Because typically one of the things that kind of kept me from doing it was your background isn't in farming. And if your background is not in farming, then you don't farm. If you didn't grow up on a farm, you shouldn't be farming. Is kind of the perception that I received from like other people. Because whenever I tell people, oh, this is what I'm considering doing, they're like, you didn't farm. Like, you didn't grow up on a farm. What do you know about farming? But sure enough, like after going to the conference, it was just like, okay, this is the community of people. It kind of solidified one of the things that I was a bit concerned with was leaving behind the military, the brotherhood, the community, the family. But the conference, like I made friends, the community, some that I'm still friends with today. And that have been instrumental in like the development process. So yeah. Okay, so talk about your buying club.
Sorry.
All right, so the question: Can you talk about your buying club and how it works, and you feel like it's been productive in a way of selling your farm's product and maintaining your personal family? Yes, the buying club. So our buying club is it's what it is. There's a group of individuals. They pay a membership to join, and they they have access to everything on our farm, from nose to tail, everything. So, and from all of our animals. And why is that so unique? Is because when we sell at farmers markets, or if you buy from our website, you'll see that you can only buy certain items.
So we tried to frame that so that when someone shops online, typically people are looking for the same items that you can get at the grocery store. So we were like, okay, well, it makes sense to offer those items on our website. But then for people who are a part of the buying club, then it's like you essentially are making a commitment to support the farm. And it makes it a lot easier in terms of planning, because when you're trying to do your farm plan for the beginning of the year, if you're like, okay, I'm going to do 25 hogs and 1,000 birds, that way you kind of still at least have that cushion for, who you're providing for on a consistent basis. And then you also asked maintaining your personal and family life. So that's a great question. I don't know if we really mastered that.
So in the first year, before the buying club, we were busy, and if we didn't live on the farm, I probably wouldn't have seen each other as often, just because there was always something. Either we're at the processor, we're either dropping off at the processor, picking up from the processor, moving animals, picking up animals. Like there's always something, delivering something, or or trying to fix something. So in the beginning, and trying to prep for the farmers markets, the 5 farmers markets that we were doing. If Paige didn't come to the farmers markets like on Saturday, then I probably wouldn't see her until like after 8 or 9 p.m. because you go into the farmers market and then you still come home and you still got to do chores, and then all the other things, and then admin stuff and all. So the buying club has allowed us to to not have to go to farmers markets.
Well, yeah, I think it's provided a little bit more structure, but I think in general, when you're working with your spouse, that is something that Derrick and I are different. And so I've heard some farm families say that if it has a hoof, the husband takes care of it. And when it doesn't have a hoof anymore, then the wife takes care of it. And that's kind of a really good, I think, like way to view things in terms of business. A lot of the things that you guys will see on social media or marketing, that's my terrain. And then where it's more with like animal husbandry, that's Derrick. And so I feel like we're still trying to figure out that balance of work and, family and all the things. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah.
Love to hear your story. Thank you for sharing. Thinking ahead to the future, do you expect to do more sales through your CSA or through online sales? Curious if you expect online sales to be more on focus. So we would love to continue to grow within our CSA model as well as our online presence. However, and I'm going to be completely upfront with you guys right now with shipping, that's kind of been a hurdle that we've been trying to overcome. So we learned how to ship perishable products through a course, and like it was great. But then, you have to do so much volume, and then you also have to pay for boxes and liners. And right now, with the state of the economy, it seems like we've had to shift our focus to do more local and just to be more intentional within the Triangle as well as the East Coast, because that is kind of more guaranteed. Where when we're trying to focus on shipping nationwide, it's like the UPS will, or whatever carrier, I mean, all of them, they won't give a guarantee. And it takes a long time to raise our products. So yeah, we're just trying to use wisdom and moving forward. Hopefully we can revamp that again, but that's kind of going to take some time, I think.
Yeah. Curious about online sales. Online sales is, I know a lot of farms went into, everybody was like jumping on the, like trying to get online and trying to do online sales during COVID, because it was really the only way you could do it. And we believe that like, it's a good focus. It's a good system or market to invest in. I don't think that it needs to be your only, but it's definitely a good, you should have it. It allows you to be flexible. But it also, like Paige said, it requires a whole lot of patience, and you're going to do a whole lot of apologizing and correcting, because things, like she said, show up late. But the good thing about it is there are people that will have access to it that if you can't go to the farmer's market on Saturday,
right.
It won't like you won't have to worry about not being able to pay your bills because you'll still have a source of income. You just may have to figure out how to be creative with like delivering a product, even if it's not using delivery and you're just doing it yourself or using a local delivery person. But it's definitely a good market to focus on. Where do you hear your story free feed? Similar story here, veterans.
Not a
Oh, cool. So we purchase our feed through Carolina Feed and Home. I'm sure if you've heard Melinda and our products come from Jeff Bender Farm, dairy farm out in Henderson. They're not dairy farm anymore. He focuses on feed, but that's the name of the farm, Carolina Farm and Home. Great. They're amazing. And they can, if you want to do something specific, they cater to farmers' needs. So it's a good source.
Besides attending this conference in the past, what would you say was your most utilized resource while getting off the ground? We read a lot of books. We listened to a lot of podcasts, and then we just did it. I think that
just trying something, even if you just do it on a small scale, is a really great way to just start. I mean, I think if Derrick did not just take the leap and get those 25 chickens, I don't think that we would be where we are now if he didn't just take the leap and say, hey, like, I'm going to order some birds and see how this goes. So I would say if you are thinking about doing this on a big scale, I say start small and then go from there. What do you think?
I agree. I'm trying to think of a resource. I spent the most utilized resource would have probably
Books,
I mean, books. I know people are like books. It's a lot. But the other thing, another good thing is if you can find, if you're specifically trying to raise an animal, or if you're thinking about a specific animal or a specific project, one of the things that I have found very beneficial is journal logs from someone in the industry. For example, Abraham Lincoln. Who was the
it was
what was the book that I read?
the peanut butter. Carver.
Yeah, George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver.
Is that right? Yeah, George Washington Carver. That's right.
I think that's right.
It's right. Journal writings, like, and they're amazing. And every industry professional has somebody who is like the guy. And I'm talking like old, because one of the things that they do with the journal logs is a lot of the stuff that we're trying to figure out, like, calving, hogs, pigs, or pigs, chickens, these things are, before I go and reinvent the wheel, while YouTube is great, and YouTube is a good resource. You can see a lot of people make mistakes and people can help you fix things, or you can kind of see an example of something. But the journal writings are good because not only do they talk about how things were going back before all of the, all the stuff that's going on now, they kind of just focus on the basics of, animal husbandry. So if you look at some of these things, like how they went about like producing something or creating something, like you can literally see what they were writing. On this day, this happened. On this day, this happened. So journal, it's been a good resource. It's been a good resource for encouragement. Just because a lot of the times, like, it may not specifically be for farming. And you're going to need some type of encouragement at some point throughout the process, because there are a lot of hard days. The good days are great and they're amazing, but there are a lot of hard days. So, and in order to get through some of those hard days or hard weeks, you need some inspiration, and reading those things and hearing about some of the stuff that kind of prepares you for, okay, this is going to happen. There's going to be a week of rain and you're just not going to want to go and move those pigs, but you don't have a choice. So you got to go do it. And I think that is.
No, there's more.
Oh, okay. Where are we now? Why does it keep doing this? Wait a minute. The thing isn't moving. Okay.
Cooties. Are cooties good pig? Okay, we're almost
go
at
ahead.
Yes, cooties are great pigs to start with. That was my first pig, actually, were cooties. They are great if you have kids, especially. I like the breed because they're very docile, and I would say they don't get too big. Well, it depends. That does depend. They're typically small pigs, and they're heavy with like lard. So you need to know how to use lard if you do get a cootie. But still, a fantastic pig. They make exceptional bacon. What else? I think it's a great start for a homestead. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here because we are at time. Thank you, Derrick and Paige. A fabulous, inspiring story. It's a great way to start out, in my opinion, the conference week with such an inspiring story. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, folks that participated and giving us grace as we got started a little bit late. And I'm so glad that we got to see your faces as we moved through this morning. So thank you so much. Very much appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye. Okay. It won't let me leave.